All right, so I decided that I wanted to do kind of like a NFL preseason, way too early season prediction of how I think the season will go. And usually, how I do these, I usually type these out and post these online, to various sports websites. But I decided to do a video about it, and this is just like a prediction based on if no other moves are made and if no injuries occur. If the teams are how they are at the end of the season, where they are now, how I believe this season would go for each team, and I'm gonna try to give a little bit of a little bit of context behind why some of the records are the way they are. The records aren't 100% what I believe the team will be, but I believe it'll be in that ballpark, and the playoff teams will most likely be who I believe will be in the playoffs by the end of the season. So let's get to it. All right, so right here we have the AFC and NFC North, the AFC, NFC South. Now, for the AFC North, I have the Baltimore Ravens winning the division. I just believe they're better. I got them going 4-2 in the division, and I just think the Baltimore Ravens have. I believe they surrounded their team with the right pieces to repeat as division winners next year. At first, I didn't think the Cleveland Browns would be as good as they were. I still don't believe they're going to be as good as what I have them right here, but just the way their schedule is, it's almost built for them to make the playoffs. I got them going 10-6. I got them going 5-1, and obviously one of those losses is to the Baltimore Ravens. I believe they'll split down the middle, but I think that they'll have. I think Pittsburgh's going to struggle this year. I mean, I really do believe that they're going to miss the playoffs this year again. And that's not a fact. It's just my opinion. I really do believe the Pittsburgh Steelers will struggle. And, I can see them finishing with around, 5 to maybe 8 wins. But they're going to miss the playoffs. And then I have the Cincinnati Bengals obviously being in the cellar. I don't really even have to elaborate why I believe that. It's just, I can see it going there. And for the AFC South, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning that division. Now, the AFC South and the AFC West, the NFC South and the NFC North or East, those are usually pretty close divisions. But the AFC South and the AFC West are usually between 1 to maybe 3 wins apart from everybody from the top to the bottom, unless you got one team that was just so bad. But it's usually a pretty close race. And when I was doing the predictions for week, this was a pretty close race, man. I don't think one team really had that much of an advantage over anybody else, but I just had the Jacksonville Jaguars finding a way to get the job done. It was either going to be the Jaguars or the Colts, honestly. I got the Colts going 4-2 in the division, not really playing very well outside of the division. There were a couple of noticeable losses that I gave them, like Dallas. I honestly believe they'll lose to Dallas, and it's just inside the division, I think they will play a lot better because division opponents, usually have the number of their opponents within that division. That's why you see New England, they'll lose to a Miami or a Buffalo or somebody like that, or even the Jets. So I got everybody else going 9-7. I think the Houston Texans again have pretty much the same team they have every year, where they win probably 8, 9, 10 games. I don't really see them doing I don't really see them being that great as far as being able to get over the hump. I don't think the Houston Texans have a team that can get them to the Super Bowl. They have a team that could keep them in a fight. They have a team that could, get them close to a playoff berth or get them in the playoffs. They just don't have a team that'll get them over the hump. And for the NFC North, I have the Chicago Bears once again winning the division. I don't really see any other team in this division really competing with them on that level. Just like the AFC South. I have the NFC North pretty tight, with the last three teams. I think this, Green Bay Packers, this is me throwing them a bone. I think with the new head coach, they may struggle their first year. They may pick it up their second year or late in the season, but they're going to struggle for the beginning part of this upcoming season. They got to find their footing. And, so me giving them 8 wins was generous. I did see a few games that could work in their favor, at some point. So, also being generous with the Minnesota Vikings, because if I'm being honest, I think the Detroit Lions are the second best team in that division. And I could see them getting like 9, maybe 10 wins, but they kind of I kind of dropped them off because there was a couple games that were toss-ups that I just had to go in the other direction with. But I do have them going 4-2 in the division. I got the Green Bay Packers not playing really, and that's because these 3 teams over the on top of the Green Bay Packers, they have really good defenses. They have really good defenses, and I think the Green Bay Packers will struggle with that. And I think that was the biggest reason why they didn't really finish with a better record than 8-8. Oh crap! No, I don't want to add a goddamn comment. Sorry. And then in the NFC South, sorry, I have the New Orleans. Damn it! I was about to call them New Orleans Hornets. The New Orleans Saints. I got them winning the division. I got them going undefeated in their division. This division is just a mess. The Panthers are a mess. The Falcons are a mess. The Buccaneers are an extreme mess. It's just it's just a fucking mess in this division. And, but the only team that can even come close to their record are the Atlanta Falcons, who have a way better team than anybody else on this, in that division. The NFC South this year is going to be a mess. It just is. And, obviously I got the Bears making the playoffs. I got the Saints making the playoffs. I have the Jaguars making the playoffs. And I also have the Browns and Ravens making the playoffs. This is going to be an interesting season once the season gets going. But let me go to the other one. All right, so now we're here. This is to finish off the standings. We have the AFC East, we have the AFC West, we have the NFC East, the NFC West, and the AFC East. Obviously, I have the Patriots winning the division almost way too easily, and that's because none of these teams underneath of them have a solid starting quarterback, at least not yet. They're going to struggle for a majority of the season. There's a lot of turmoil and confusion going on with these latter 3 teams that is going to prevent them from really doing any significant damage. And honestly, I think the Cardinals and the Bills are going to be fighting for that number 1 spot next year. I got them going 6-0 in the division. I got the Jets getting a majority of their wins in the division. I think that that's where they're really going to be doing a lot of their damages. They're going to be pretty much abusing the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. And again, I'm not saying I'm going to be 100% right with any of this. For all I know, I could be 100% wrong. I mean, there is a chance whenever you give your opinion about something that's not based in any kind of statistical facts, I guess. I mean, you're up for, being proven wrong or being, having your opinion be discredited, I guess. I was trying to find the right words to say right there, but in the AFC West, I have the Kansas City Chiefs going 13-3. Now, at the halfway point, when I was doing week by week, at the halfway point, both the Chargers and the Chiefs were at 8-1 at one point. But then they, I don't know. Then there were just some games in the latter part of their season that kind of became toss-up games, and then their games against each other were toss-up games. That one loss that the Chiefs had came against the Chargers. I don't think the Broncos are going to do much this year. There is not one part of that Broncos team that I'm optimistic about besides Philip Lindsay. That's it. Nothing else makes me optimistic about it. Not even the defense makes me optimistic about the Broncos this year. I think the Raiders will be good this year. I just don't think they'll have enough to get them a playoff push. I don't think they'll have enough. And the NFC East, I have the Dallas Cowboys winning winning the division. I have the Eagles in a close second, and then I have the Giants and the Washington Redskins being complete and utter circuses. Finishing 3 and 13. I was about to say 13-3, but I think the Cowboys will win out in the division. I don't see any one of these teams. Now, again, I could be wrong. They could be tested during this division. In this division. But just looking at their team, they're just better than everybody else. And the reason why I got them being better than the Philadelphia Eagles is because Carson Wentz is coming off of an injured season and a down season where he really didn't look like himself. So I refuse to give him benefit of the doubt. He has to be able to come back. And I'm trying to be as objective about this shit as possible. So for anybody to come along and be like, well, you got this team this way, I think you're just hating. No, look at the New England Patriots. I got them going undefeated in the division, obviously because the division is bad, but they're 11-5. There were a few games like the loss to the Chiefs. I believe they had a loss to the Cowboys. There were games that I honestly believe that the Patriots would have problems in. They're not just better than everybody else. If that was the case, they would be 16-0 right now. I was trying to be as objective as possible with this ranking. That's why I have the Eagles finishing second in the division and missing the playoffs. It's not enough to just stack your team up with talent. You have to be able to do something with it. And now for the NFC West, I have the Los Angeles Rams winning the division again, and I have the Seahawks and the 49ers both finishing with good enough records to make the playoffs. Now, you can kind of flip-flop those. The Eagles could potentially make the playoffs, but I think the San Francisco 49ers will do enough to etch their name into into winning the playoffs. To making the playoffs. Honestly, it should be the Eagles that get the playoff spot, but the fact that the division... Wait, hold on. I'm trying to remember. I believe the Eagles played the 49ers. That's the only way I could see them having the Eagles out of the playoffs and the 49ers in the playoffs is if they played each other and the 49ers won. Let me see. Give me a second. Alright, so I went back and I looked at the entire schedule and I didn't see the Eagles play the 49ers. I thought they did because I did see the Eagles play the Seattle Seahawks. But, they didn't play the 49ers. But one of the things I did notice was that New England plays Philly this year, and I actually gave Philly the win. I forgot about that. I think late in the season is, I believe that's when the Eagles will start picking it up. Once they get their feet under them, I think they'll start playing better as the season goes on. And I did have them getting a win against New England. When New England, I don't know, for the past couple of years, they've struggled. They struggled in November. Even last year, they kind of struggled in December a little bit. But they were able to pick it up late in the season to finish off strong. But November is probably not one of the most kindest. Like November or October. No, September or November. That's usually when you see a chunk of New England losses. But I did have Philly beating them. I don't know. And then I have the Patriots, the Chiefs, the Chargers, 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, the Cowboys making the playoffs. Um, if I had to give my prediction on who would be in a Super Bowl, out of the Chiefs, Chargers, Ravens, Browns, I believe me, I had getting in there, and the Jaguars. It's going to be if those teams manage to make the playoffs, it's going to be a tough road for New England to make it back. I'm not saying they can't, but it's going to be a rough road for them to even be competitive. You know, it's not going to be easy. But it's never really easy for New England, even though people like to bring up the division so much. It's never an easy path for New England to the Super Bowl. It's always a challenge. But yeah, this is my prediction. This is how I think it's gonna go. If you agree, great. If you don't agree, let me know. I've been getting some comments, not a lot, but I've been getting some comments, and some relatively, constructive. Others just, mindless shots. That's it. But I love to hear more feedback, whether it's positive or negative, doesn't matter. I'd love to hear more. All right.